Episode 151 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, coming to you live from YouTube, as I say, for the final time this year, because what we're going to be doing now is going through my list of the top 10 perfumes of the year, the top 10 perfumes of 2020. So hopefully you will be able to stick around for an hour or so as I present to you my favorite perfumes of the last year. But hopefully this episode will also be about lots of interaction with you. So let me go onto the tablet to make sure that everything is coming through loud and clear. And the first comment in this last episode goes to Christos Souflaki, who says, "Oh yes, catching you live again. That's awesome. All the best from Germany. I'm excited. So am I." Keep the comments coming. I may not be able to read every single one, but I will go back and look at them. Tell me where you are. And also, more importantly, do tell me what some of your favourite perfumes of the year have been, and feel free to agree, disagree with my choices. Let's just turn it into a kind of end-of-year Persolaise party. Keith says, "Good day from Canada." I need to skip ads on the tablet because I don't particularly need to see. It's interesting how even I have to watch an ad to make sure that things are coming through on the tablet. A2Z1 says, "Good day, everyone. Good to be here." Frag Chi-Town says, "Greetings from Chicago." And Joanna says, "Hello, everyone. Greetings from London, just up the road." Carmen says, "Hello from Croatia." Andri is in Manchester. Sabra is in Seattle. And Sylvia says, "Hello from the Netherlands." Amazing. We've got so much of the globe covered already. Druba says, "A wonderful shirt for a wonderful video." I've been saving this one for you because we're in celebratory mode. Thank you very much. Hope everyone has had a good year, even with all that happened. Hi from Arkansas, and Ronnie Gal Ed says hi from NYC. So the USA is in the house. Just to tell you a little bit about what's going to happen, I will go through my top 10 perfumes of the year, spending just a little bit of time on each one because I want to get as much interaction with you into the episode as possible. We have got 10 to go through, so I'll need to make it quick. And then in just under an hour, so at 5 p.m. UK time, my blog post, so as in the written blog post with the same top 10 list, will appear on persolaise.com, and it will also give you a brief summation of my thoughts on the perfume industry and what it's been up to in the last year, how things have developed. So I won't go into that sort of thing here in this video. You can go over to persolaise.com and read that blog post at the end of this broadcast, and if you're watching the recording, I will put a link to that blog post in the video description below. And also in that blog post, I mention a few perfumes that didn't quite make it into this top 10. Mystery Forms says, "Peace to all from Canada." Sotir is in Bulgaria, and Christopher Honey says, "Hello from Muscat in Oman," where I would imagine the weather is just a tiny little bit warmer than it is here. JW is in Rugby in the UK, and MJ Adamek is in Edinburgh. We need to get going. So the first perfume, these are not in any particular order, okay, because I couldn't do that to myself. These are just my 10 favorites. One thing that should be said is that obviously this list is necessarily based purely on what I have been able to try. Even with everything that's been happening, there still have been a lot of perfumes released out there. There is no way, unless you happen to be Michael Edwards, I don't think there is any way that you could keep up with every single one. So there is always the possibility that some gorgeous gem didn't get onto my radar. Perhaps it will next year. I am basing this list just on what I have tried. And you saw the first one there. So here we go. First one on the list of the top 10 perfumes of 2020 is Toy Boy from Moschino. Composed by Jan Vanille. And this actually is interesting in relation to what I was saying just now, because I think, strictly speaking, this was a 2019 release, even though a lot of people didn't manage to get round to trying it until 2020. Lots of comments still coming through. Milada's in Tehran. Druba says, "Curious where Renault is now." Who knows? Hopefully he's enjoying Christmas celebrations with his family. Chang says, "Bonjour from Paris." Rachel says, "Festive greetings from Kernow." Marianne says, "Hello from Kingston, Canada." Cine Sun is in Belgium, and Denali45 is in Paris too. And I've just seen one comment, and Yolanta says, "Hello from Kaunas, Lithuania." Amazing. Oh, and somebody's popped up saying, "What a shirt. Do you like it, Monsieur Salmon? Do you approve?" There you go, Druba. He's here watching with us. The Udo Pantograph says, "Hello from Austin, Texas." Okay. Why is this on the list? There was a full video done on this a while ago, so you will be able to find, if you search for the review of this, you will be able to find it. Let's just pop it on here to make sure that it is in full view. Oh, now I know why this is on the list. Lulwa is in Bahrain. Happy holidays. So I call this one the kooky one on the list, okay? Not least because of the bottle. Ankalhar says, is Chanel's Le Lion on it? I can tell you now that it is not, just because I haven't tried it. It's not out in the UK yet. Perhaps I'll get to try it in January, February, and then we'll see if it ends up on the list for 2021. So I can tell you straight away, that's not here because I have no idea what it smells like, although a lot of people seem to think it's very good. Deborah says, wow, your shirt is stunning. Thank you very much. I kind of like it. I mean, it works, I suppose, doesn't it? Patrick says, hello, Persolaise. I hope you're doing well. I would really love to see a comparison video on Chanel number 19 and EDT to Guerlain Mitsuko. Perhaps we will do that. Today we're all about the top 10. What was interesting about this one? Well, spicy green roses that are very, very overtly aimed at men are always a welcome proposition. And that is what this is. But I think it does it so well, as I think I may have said when I first smelt it. It reminded me of the original Marni perfume that Daniela Andrea did for the brand. A lot of the Marni perfumes were, I thought, very good. They were all somehow a variation on a spicy rose. I think they've been discontinued. This seems to me to take a page out of the book of the original Marni. Just really, really interesting and really clever. And it shows Jan Vanier doing his gender bending thing that he does so well. Because even though the rose is very recognizably a rose, and actually quite a pink rose, really, it doesn't go into the territory of, I don't know, Sophia Groisman's Paris or Portrait of a Lady, and it doesn't become really, really obviously, overtly feminine. Maybe because it isn't very obviously fruity. The pepper comes in there to spice things up. There's a green note to keep things masculine, and I think the greenery ties in with a woodiness as well. This was great, and I wonder how it's done for them, how well it has done for them, because the number of times I have recommended it to people, but then received a text message or an email back saying, oh my God, I've just seen the bottle. And I've said, yeah, but who's going to see the bottle anyway? Whoops. The bottle will just sort of stay in your room or in your bathroom or somewhere. What do you care about what the bottle looks like? And I think every single one of my recommendations has been unsuccessful. In the sense that even though the people I've been talking to have enjoyed the scent, they haven't then gone on to buy it because they were put off by the bottle. Now, whether that says more about the people I know or than it does about the bottle, I don't know. But well worth checking out if you're after a very, very clearly delineated masculine rose. So, number one, lots and lots of comments coming through. Joanna says, fab shirt indeed. I used to have a wallpaper not dissimilar to it. Well, consider Persolaise your wallpaper for the day. Looks great on you, says Lisbeth. Thank you very much. Dean says, warm greetings from New York, and I'm all about meander for 2020. Druba says, this one, as in Toy Boy, reminded me of my father's rose garden. It specifically reminds me of him pruning the thorns and all the extra roses to let the large ones blossom. Interesting. I may need some advice from your dad on what to do with the roses growing in my garden. Lovely opulent shirt, Persolaise, says Kathy. Good evening from Tel Aviv, Israel, says somebody whose handle is in Hebrew. I need to learn to read this handle. I need to try and work out how to pronounce your name. Konbanwa says Denby. Is it similar to Rozu, perhaps, says Andy Goring. Rozu, I thought, was darker. We may get on to Rozu in a few minutes. I don't know. We'll see. Land of Nothingness says one of my favourite bottles, like an understated Lamal bottle. That's true, actually. Jeanette says warm hello from the Philippines. Good evening from Singapore, says Gino. Toy Boy makes me happy. Yes, it does have that effect, doesn't it? Keith says, I really like the bottle, but to each their own. And Sorry Remix says, I actually bought it because of the bottle. Brilliant. I need to hang out more with people like you. Tina says, hello to you all from Germany. Loads of comments. Frag Chaitan says, my favourite for 2020, sorry, try again. My favourite for 2020 is Rook Perfumes Undergrowth. There you go. One that I haven't tried. So perhaps I should. Pulling up mint from wet soil. Oh, that does sound good, actually. Such a balm during lockdown. And Not that's a pimp. I think you mean now that's a pimp shirt 100%. No comment. And Toy Boy is beautiful, says DCJMR, but it reminds me of something I have already, like Hermès Mireglantine. Oh, okay. No, it didn't make me think of that at all, but fine. Gavin says, I will try then, as I love Mireglantine. Okay, we need to move on. This is going to be the story of this video, isn't it? We need to move on. Okay, now let us become a little bit, actually a lot less kooky. So that was the kooky one. This one I am calling, and I'll explain why, the reflective one. Now, you may not think that an oud, this is Christian Dior's Oud Rosewood, composed by François Demachy, you may not think that an oud would qualify as something reflective, but as I'm spraying it, very, very good, in my opinion, to my nose, very good modern ouds. Of course, his leather oud is one of my favorite modern ouds from a European perfume house. Oud Isfahan is one of Madame Persolaise's favorite ouds. This one saw him on fine form. And why do I say a reflective one? Because it's almost as though he's looked at the ouds he's done already and thought, this is me speculating, okay, but speculating on the basis of smelling his work, his previous work, looking at what he's done before and thinking that maybe now the time has come to make things just a trifle less bombastic, just to turn down the volume knob a little bit, not make things quite so thunderous, quite so melodramatic. Now, I still adore Leather Oud, even though I do think it has been changed slightly. I'm still a huge fan of it. And as far as I'm aware, it is still available. Dior keep teasing us with all of this stuff about, are they going to discontinue it? Are they not? But apparently at a lot of Dior counters, it is still available. This one is like a kind of leather oud, maybe with the rosiness of Oud Isfahan, but just brought down, toned down. I guess the link with the Isfahan is the rosewood. This has got a really, really tart, sharp, fruity opening, not unlike the fruity openings that you get in structures like Tuscan leather or Canisia 10. So, it could be something like raspberry, strawberry, that sort of thing, that just gets a kind of tart fizz going. The oud it isn't an overly stinky, fecal, barnyard oud. I know that François Demachy likes using cypriol a lot when he's trying to make oud accords, and not surprisingly, cypriol works extremely well in oud accords. And this is one. Now, see, for a perfume in my collection, as you can see, the amount that's been used there. Now, for me, in 1 year, that's a lot, because I am constantly testing new perfumes that I may or may not review. For a bottle of mine to have gone down this much actually shows that I did wear it a lot, and I was a fan of it from the word go. I think the very first time I smelt it actually was on a live YouTube video, and I've enjoyed it ever since. I wore it again a few days ago as I was preparing for this video, and Madame Persolaise was swooning all over it again. So that would be second on the list. Really, really good release from Dior. Let me just quickly look at some comments. I prefer this over Oud Isfahan, says Lalwa. I personally do as well. I would definitely wear this over Oud Isfahan. Milosh says, hello, sir. I'm a fan of Jean-Claude Elena Hermès cologne line. Fantastic. Rachel says, Rosewood is very wearable. Yes, I think so too. Demba says, Spice Blend is my favorite at the moment. That was a good one. That was a good one as well. How does it compare to the Moon, says Tina. Oh, this is, I would say, I mean, I'd need to re-smell my sample of the Moon, but I would say this is quieter, more composed, more reflective. The Moon, I suppose, is a bit more of a sort of traditional Arabian oud. Glad I caught this live. Merry Christmas, says Audrey, and a very Merry Christmas to you as well. Are your shirts niche, says Yoshi. No, they're mainstream. I don't know. I just found this one online. It's not any particular brand, I don't think. Richmich says, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you. And Nicholas says, thoughts on Mitza, worth searching for. You will probably find some words on that over on Persolaise.com. So, we need to move on. Now, I would like to do a few for which I don't have full bottles. Not that it matters hugely, but I just think aesthetically, by the end of this episode, I'd like the bottles to be assembled quite nicely and look and look quite composed. But I don't have full bottles for all of the scents in the top 10. And I would like to move on to one from a brand that has been for me the sort of personal discovery of the year. The brand is, some of you may guess, the brand is Les Indemodables, and the particular perfume that I'd like to feature in my top 10 list from them is their release for this year, Havana Vanilla, so Vanille Havane, composed by Antoine Lee. If all goes well, I should be able to bring to you a live interview with the two founders of the brand in a few weeks' time here on this channel. We just sort of need to sort out the final details. The whole thing about Les Indemodables is that they really pay a lot of attention to the raw materials that they use, and they very, very kindly, this was fascinating, they actually sent me small quantities of 3 of the key materials that go into this particular perfume, including really, really gorgeous cocoa material and just an out of this world vanilla. And so this for me is like this is so good. Have you guys actually, I know that on the back of the video that I did where I mentioned some of these perfumes from Les Indemodables, a lot of you went and ordered some of their sample sets directly from the brand, or also from Lucky Scent if you're based in the US. If you haven't ordered a sample set, you need to check these out. So this is kind of like the classic choice. Because as I say over on the blog post on Persolaise.com, Les Indemodables show that in a way, one of the bravest, one of the most innovative things you can do at the moment in perfumery is actually to go back to basics and to think, okay, what was it that made some of those classics so amazing? What was it that made them so effective? Let's try and recreate that, but with modern know-how, with materials that we can use, that we can extract using more modern extraction techniques. And this because it is so rich, you constantly find new things in it. I mean, the moment when I was smelling it, I kind of thought I was getting almost like a banana or a banana peel note. It can trace its lineage all the way back to scents like Habanita, not surprisingly, because it's got that tobacco, chocolate, vanilla thing happening in there. It's really, really dark, really unctuous. And yet so much attention has been paid to it as well, all the way from top to bottom, because the top note has got this subtly sparkling, powdery quality. It's just so sophisticated. I'm so pleased to have found this brand. And it was thanks to Barbara Herrmann, the founder of Eris Perfumes, whose perfumes are also made by Antoine Lee. It was thanks to her that I got onto Les Indemodables, even though they've been around for a while. But this is what happens, unfortunately, in this game now. There are so many players out there, and there's so many scents out there that you just, as I was saying at the beginning, you just literally cannot keep up with everything, and you sometimes rely on the recommendations of others, on the tastes of others to guide you in the direction of something really, really special. Some comments on this one. Land of Nothingness says, nice, only note, truly staggering. I love that one as well. That's, I think, my favorite one. But yeah, actually, yes, that is my favorite one. And Land of Nothingness is again says, I got a 50 ml of Oriental Velour, first blind buy in a while, actually. Phew, I'm glad it worked then. Tina says, agrees with Denby on The Moon. Olfactive Story says, my favorite one by Les Indemodables was their last release, this one, the vanilla. The Udo Pantograph says, Musc des Sables is my favorite one from this house, and their rose is also spectacular. Victoria says, got the sample set after your video. Great. Love the vanilla. It is wonderful. On my to buy list. I'm so pleased to hear that. Vincent says, yes, also ordered the sample set. Loved it. The vanilla is indeed gorgeous. Good. This is music to my ears. Thank you very much for telling me all this. And Kazizi says, has Monsieur Salmon entered the chat yet? He did earlier on, Just say the A word and he'll probably say something. I don't, unless he's gone off to make himself a cup of coffee. Frag Chitown says, thanks to you introducing me to this brand, I have Eris Perle on my next to sample list. Wondering if any Iris scents are in your top 10 today. Oh, good question. I think the answer to that would have to be no. I'm just looking down at them. We need to move on. So what's number 4? Another one for which I don't have a full bottle. And another one which was actually a brand that was new to me. This is from Francesca Bianchi. So can you see there that I've put onto the list her release from this year called Sticky Fingers, which I mentioned just a little while ago on this channel when I was doing my rundown of my top 10 patchouli perfumes. And this one has made it onto my list of the top 10 perfumes of the year. All of Francesca's scents are extrait strength. And she is a person I would very much like to try and get live on the channel. I haven't had any interaction with her as such. You know, all of these samples of hers that I got myself. So if any of you out there know whether, if you've interacted with her or met her, if you think she'd make an interesting interview subject, let me know. I'm sure she would. Now, this is the sassy one, okay? This is the one that's got swagger, it's got attitude, it's got a kind of sway to its shoulders as it's moving down the pavement, wearing very, very well-fitted jeans and maybe a kind of tight, but again, well-fitted jacket. This has got an iris note. Somebody said iris, but I mean it is predominantly a patchouli, and I think Sticky Fingers is just such a fantastic name for it because it's got that palpable naughtiness to it. You know, it's somebody who maybe licks the icing out of the bowl, or after they've had yet another piece of stollen bite or a slice of Christmas cake or mince pie, ends up, you know, licking all of their fingers, but does it in a way that is just very, very, very playfully and intelligently seductive. There's nothing ditzy about this, okay? So whereas Angel, part of Angel's appeal is, dare I say it, is its ditziness. This has got a kind of sticky, sweet, perhaps gourmand quality, but it's never silly. What are people saying about this one, potentially? Druba says, curious if there'll be any more spring-summer scented fragrances in this list. Perhaps. I grabbed a set of Bianchi samples. I'm extremely excited to try it. Good. Sylvia says, love Tiger Tiger from this brand. Now, that's even newer than this, isn't it? I haven't tried that one, so I need to try and get my hands on a sample. Perhaps it'll be on next year's list. Gavin says, named after the Rolling Stones album. Yeah, potentially, and the attitude could be very Mick Jagger, as you say, Gavin. Konstantin says, if there's one thing I hate, it's Angel. Well, it loves you too. Let's not get on to Angel. We talked enough about Angel in the Patchouli video. Land of Nothingness says, wonder if any blue scents will end up here. Oh, I think I get this reference, but never mind. Let's move on. Joanna, excited about the prospect of you interviewing Francesca, who I believe has a fine art background. Okay, interesting. Etruscan Water is my favorite, says Udo Pantograph. Yes, mine too, but that's an older release. Gino, I tried her whole sample set as well. This stood out to me, as well as Angel's Dust. Curious what your thoughts are on Etruscan Water, says Drubub. Just really gorgeous, like a really, really fantastically done old school leather chypre. Wonderful. I should do a separate video on it. I bought that one for myself. That was the one that I got a full bottle of. Denby says, I really respect Bianchi despite not owning anything from her house. Has a legible, interesting house signature, but each release stands on its own. Yes. I'd love to try Sticky Fingers, says Olfactive Stories. And Kafka says, first time catching a live stream. Excellent. Okay, we're not doing too badly because we're at the 25-minute mark and we're about to try number 5. So it means I need to keep up this pace. Did Tom Ford's Chocolate Cucumber make your most loved of 2020? Let's answer you in a word. No. Even though I thought the Parfum version of Black Orchid was fine. No, it's not in the top 10. Would love to have an annotation to a video which I can click on for that fragrance, says Druba. I know. Do you imagine? So another one for which I don't have a full bottle. This is from Masque Milano, and it's called Ray-Flection. We've already had a conversation on this channel about how we think maybe that's not the best name for a perfume. Never mind. This is composed by Alex Lee, young perfumer who works at Man. Let's pop that one on here. And this one I was just so taken with from the very start. This is the optimistic one. And it's just, in terms of its structure, okay, it's a mimosa perfume, a honeyed mimosa with a very, very well judged, cool cardamom note at the top. So it kind of does this cardamom mimosa honey thing with sparkly aldehydes at the top. And mimosa makes you think winter anyway, or if you associate it with the south of France, it will make you think winter. And I guess because of the coolness of the cardamom, what Alex Lee has evoked and conjured so well in this perfume is that feeling of winter sun, and winter sun when it's a beautiful blue sky and the air is really crisp. I think always gives you this sense of hope for the approach of spring. Heaven knows we all need a sense of hope at the moment. And this one just captures that gorgeous optimism that you can get from pristine, crisp winter mornings. And I can't stop myself from smiling when I smell this. A really, really strong release from a brand about which I confess I do not know a great deal. I remember years ago I did some mini reviews over on Persolaise.com of some of their scents. But again, I'm in conversation with the brand founders, and fingers crossed, should be able to bring you an interview with them, perhaps towards the end of January, some point in February. I'm trying to be a very, very diligent Persolaise and line up all sorts of interesting interviews for you so that we can keep the interviews, the live interviews going throughout the course of next year. But this is just a joy, and it's that link between the cardamom and the mimosa just gets me every single time. It just works so well. I'm a sucker for cardamom anyway, but I would never have thought of it as making an interesting pairing with mimosa. Okay, what else have we got? Nicola says, I don't know why, but it reminds me of an expensive bag of Earl Grey tea, but I love it. Which one? Would it be? I suppose you must mean the Masque Milano. Do you? Maybe the cardamom makes you think of the tea. Richmond says, have you smelled the Prada mimosa before? No, I haven't actually. Amna says, Dear Persolaise, my favourite from Francesca Bianchi is the Dark Side. I love loads of people. For a lot of people, that is their favourite, I think, no. It's the Black Knight that a lot of people love, isn't it? Sorry, I take that back. I love patchouli, and Sticky Fingers sounds like a sumptuous concoction. It is. Kim Dawson says, what's the dry down like of the Masque Milano? The dry down is probably the most disappointing part of it. I keep enjoying revisiting the opening and the heart section, but it's essentially a sort of musky honey note. It is fine. It's good, but the opening is so strong that I suppose you are bound to feel just a tiny little bit disappointed by the closing stages. I'm mesmerized by the shirt, says Taffy. You will click on the like button. You will subscribe to my channel. Actually, maybe this would be a good point, as we're at the halfway mark, to say thanks very much for tuning in. You're watching episode 151 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, the final episode of this year, and I'm running through my top 10 perfumes of 2020. If you have happened upon this video and I just clicked like, oh, see, it worked. Gino just clicked on like because my shirt made him. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already done so, and be sure to click on the little bell so that you receive notifications of new videos. Let him get past 6K, says Druba. Yes, I noticed that I'm very, very close to 6,000 subscribers. So fingers crossed, I will be able to get to 6,000 subscribers before the end of 2020, which would be cool. But I'm not going to do thank yous for support until the end of the video and mention how wonderful you are as an audience, but I will at the end of the video. And do consider supporting my work on Ko-fi. You will find details of that in the video description below. Beverly says, very happy new year to you and all your subscribers, and absolutely the same to you as well. David, morning from San Francisco. Always glad when I can catch these, and a good morning right back at you in San Francisco. Let's move on to number 6. And number 6 is the final one for which I don't have a bottle. And number 6 is kind of similar to number 5 in the sense that Ray-Flection from Masque Milano, technically speaking, is actually a 2021 release. So we're ahead of ourselves. We're doing a TARDIS job here. The brand are taking pre-orders for this, but I don't think they will actually start shipping any of the bottles until 2021. And the same goes for what I'm about to present to you now, because this is Green Spell from Eris Perfumes, Eris Parfum, also composed by Antoine Lee, who did the Les Indemodables fragrance. I was very, very fortunate to be able to interview the founder of Eris, Barbara Herrmann, on this channel a little while ago. So if I remember, I will put a link to that interview in the video description below. All of her perfumes so far have been made by Antoine Lee. They are all worthy of your time and attention. And this one is what I will call the witchy one. And yes, I'm partly prompted by the name Green Spell, but Barbara Herrmann knows what she's doing when she's naming her scents. She knows her perfume, okay? She is the author of this book, which you can just about make out here, called Scent and Subversion. She's a vintage perfume expert, and you can smell that in her work. You can smell that in her releases, that she very much, I think, wants to try and recreate the kind of uncompromising might and power and force of certain vintage perfumes in her modern releases. There is this feeling that perfume has been neutered a little bit. And I guess through her brand and through her work with Antoine Lee, Barbara Herrmann shows that that doesn't have to be the case. And she's kind of pushing the envelope in that way. Now, Green Spell, as its name suggests, is a green perfume, but maybe it doesn't quite suggest how super, super, super green it is. It's the kind of perfume that makes you think, makes you realize that you didn't know that you wanted a successor to things like Chanel number 19. So I suppose in a way this goes back to what we were talking about earlier in terms of iris, because Chanel number 19, of course, features a prominent iris note. This is a lot greener than 19, but it does have the coolness of iris. It does have the rootiness of iris. And everything here is like this kind of green on green on green effect. So you've got tomato leaf, fig leaf, violet leaf, and all centered around this massive, massive dose of galbanum. And it casts a spell. I remember the last time I felt that a perfume cast a spell in quite this sort of way was from the Icelandic brand Andrea Mack. They released a perfume called Coven, appropriately enough. Or was it called Covet? No, that's another one, isn't it? Perhaps it was called Covet. I need to find out. I remember I put that one on my list of the top 10 perfumes of whatever year it happened to come out in. And I have no idea what's happened to that brand. They had some strong releases, but perhaps Coven. Thank you very much. Thank you. I knew you'd correct me. And this Green Spell from Eris has also got that same undergrowthy, mossy, dangerous feel to it. I mean, spell is the perfect word to put in its name, because it does feel like you kind of need to watch out for it. Otherwise, it's going to sort of grab you and have its way with you. Really, really great work. Really great work. And I would imagine that some of its key raw materials will have come from the same people who do the raw materials for Les Indemodables, because I know that Antoine Lee works with that particular company. Witchy is a great description indeed, says Angeline. And hello, by the way, Angeline. Thanks for tuning in. So yes, Covet is Sarah Jessica Parker. Thank you very much. I did know that. Frag Chitown says, oh no, hang on, having a chat with Joanna. Victoria says, I'm very intrigued. How can anything be greener than Chanel number 19? You need to smell this. Waiting for international shipping to be available on Eris Perfumes. Barbara, if you're watching this, international shipping. The people have spoken. Land of Nothingness says, you should do a worst of 2020 video. No. Life's too short. No. Okay, so now we have just got 4 left. Gosh, we're smashing these out, aren't we? We're doing well. Okay, let us move on to one that we have already mentioned. Jules by Dior is the greenest I've ever smelled, says Rich. Oh, but that's fougere green. That's a kind of different sort of green almost, isn't it? Dryad had similar marketing, says Gavin. Um, yes, I suppose so. Yes, you could say that. Yeah, I guess so. And that brand also plays with that kind of nocturnal imagery. Druba says, oh, the worst list, right? Full of woody ambers and maybe the 10th anniversary of the A word. Ah, I haven't smelt the 10th anniversary of the A word. Land of Nothingness says, Afternoon of a Fawn was very green based on my memory. Yes, this is greener. And Thomas Roy says, French Lover is quite green too. Yes, of course, that has a galbanum opening. Pergola by Exaltatum is the greenest of all greens, says Anna. Now that I haven't tried. Okay, number 7 on this list, where the perfumes are not in any particular order, is something from earlier in the year. We mentioned it a few minutes ago, and it's Rozu from Aesop, composed by Barnabé Filion. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. This to me is the haunting one. I found this one really, really interesting. I'm just freaking out now, but I've only just got the right number of blotters here. Never mind, we have skin. Okay, well done, Persolaise. You counted out the blotters before you started the broadcast. This was the haunting one. This was the one. Now, Aesop as a perfume brand are very much underrated, under the radar. They should be more prominent and better known than they are. Their Marrakesh Intense is really, really gorgeous. By the way, where do you get your blotters from? Oh, I get them from a fantastic blotter manufacturing company based in the south of France, in Provence, and they're called Sentis or Sentis. So it's Scentis. And it's just their standard blotter, but they are really, really passionate about blotters. They make them with superb quality of paper that has been created without using glue. They actually make all sorts of blotters for some of the top brands, so look them up. I think you do have to buy in fairly large quantities, but then I haven't actually had to buy any from them for years, because I got a massive order of blotters and they'll last me a while, and then I can top up. But very many years ago, when we were able to do this thing, what was it called? Traveling, that's right. I visited their factory in the south of France, and it's just a joy. It is just a joy. Anyway, this is Rozu from Aesop. Yeah, really, really interesting one. Luca Turin gets his blotters there too. Says, oh, well, there you go. Excellent. This is one that, same as with all of them, but this one particularly needs skin, because it's again a rose, as you would expect from its name, but it's rose as a sort of journey. So you start with the petals, but it's got the thorns, but where it goes in a different direction from something like Frederic Maule's Une Rose, which also has the kind of whole rose effect. This really, really digs the flowers and the plants into thick brown bark. So it's almost like it's rose that's emerging from a tree. And I think that's what makes it quite mysterious, quite haunting. Smelling it again after not having smelt it for a while, I'm still thinking about not being quite able to place certain elements of it, because it becomes quite fuzzy, quite velvety. It is very textural. It's a very, very textured rose, and very, very, very dark. No, this was nice work. Their perfumes aren't cheap, but you kind of don't mind, or you shouldn't mind paying a little bit more for something that is good quality. What sort of comments have people made on this one? Land of Nothing that says, I thought you might have nicked your blotters from the local Sephora. Well, in the UK, there ain't such a thing as a local Sephora. We don't have Sephora here. No. I've bought these blotters. I love their soaps, says Danali. Interesting. I wonder if they do soaps in the perfumes. Denby says, Rozu haunts me too, but for different reasons. Went on a train wreck of a date with a girl who doused herself in the stuff. Sorry, maybe you need to now spray it on somebody you like, and then you'll be able to cut the connection with that awful association. Frag Chaitan says, Persolaise, have you tried... oh, I never know how you pronounce that one. I did try it, but a while ago. Sophia, best wedding fragrances, please. I feel like splurging on my wedding day. Well, there's an idea. When are you getting married? So I've got a bit of a deadline. Ashfaq says, hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Druba says, I use index cards cut up, which works well. We'll try on cardstock. I mean, you can try most things. I mean, some of us get a little bit too geeky about blotters. I also like using tissue paper that I kind of fold up into a... if I want a slightly different effect, if you sort of fold it so that you almost get like a kind of floral circular layer upon layer effect, it's quite good for sinking your whole nose into. So tissue paper works for me. Jackie says, I second the wedding fragrance video idea. I'm engaged and hoping for summer 2022. Okay, that gives me a little bit of time, so I can work with that. Oh, so Rozu, and now we are down to 3. So if this was the haunting one, the next one is going to be the perplexing one. Now this one is a little, is one that's a little bit of an outlier. I haven't mentioned it on any of the videos so far, but I have done a written review of it over on Persolaise.com. And this is one that was a real head scratcher for me. I kept veering from wondering whether it actually smelt, you know, not to be too blunt, whether it actually smelt cheap and nasty, to whether it smelled really interesting and genius. And I think because I couldn't make up my mind, and I still can't really make up my mind, I thought that there must be something interesting going on here. Because I thought if a perfume can cause me to feel confused for this length of time, there must be something to it. And this is from Etat Libre d'Orange, and it's called Exit the King. Composed by Ralph Schwieger and Cécile Maton. Sophia's getting married in 2021. Well, that could mean that you're getting married in a few days' time. So give us a little bit more information so Persolaise knows how quickly he has to work on this video. But congratulations to both of you, by the way, and I hope you are able to carry on, you know, with your plans and get married wherever it is you're wanting to get married. Now this, the brand, markets quite rightly as a chypre. It's on my wish list, says Olfactive Stories, as in you've tried it or it's on your wish list just to try. And it's really bitter, really dryly bitter. And I think it's that just keeps making me wonder whether I do dismiss it as cheap and nasty or what. Interestingly, it reminded me of, does anybody remember like Rexona spray deodorant from the 80s? I actually looked up Rexona and I see that as a brand they still exist. But where I was living in the 80s, I guess that was the deodorant brand that people bought when they went to the supermarkets. Because I actually made Madame Persolaise smell this and I said, and she kind of pulled the face, and I said, are you thinking 80s supermarket deodorant? And she sort of looked at me and went, yes, I am. And it's meant to start, according to the brand, it's meant to start with a soap foam accord. And there is a sense of it being so soapy and so clean that it almost strips everything away so that you can kind of see the metallic skeleton holding everything in the perfume in place. There is a pepperiness to it. It's meant to contain some high quality pepper materials from Man. Its chypre bitterness is really biting, rasping, inky, metallic. And it's that side of it that actually makes you think, this is really interesting. I'm not sure I've smelt something quite like this before. And I have worn it a few times, and several people said they liked it on me. Not that, you know, I'm into the whole compliments thing, but a lot of people remarked on it. So just on the basis of a release that actually pushes something out into the air that we may not have quite smelt before, this deserves a place on the list. But even now, as I'm smelling it, there's a bit of me that's kind of going, oh, do I even like this? And another bit that's going, this is really fascinating. This is, and as always with Etat Libre, you could get into all sorts of games about the name and why is it called Exit the King? You know, is it called Exit the King because it's time to make way for the Queen? Or who do you make way for? I mean, when I actually wrote the review over on Persolaise.com, I went off on this whole tangent about drag queens and no, interesting. I think if we were sort of smelling it coming from some kind of vintage 70s, 80s brand, we'd all be going on about how bold it was because of its bitterness and its metallic quality. But I will be very interested to see how it does for the brand, and very interested to find out what you think of it in these comments as well, but maybe in the weeks and months to come if you're watching the recording and you leave some comments. Olfactive Story says, it reminds me of a classic barbershop fragrance, but going into the feminine territory, I like that it's mixing genre. Yes, absolutely, it does that kind of thing. A top Chypre perfume video, please, says Gino. Good idea, actually. That is a good idea. Druba says, hope it was better than Phantomos. The materials in that weirded me out. From Nasomato. Yeah, I wasn't crazy about that one either. I think that Etat Libre do a good job of an interesting story with the materials they have. Joanna says, I've been confused by Interlude Woman for several months. Well, that is a pretty confusing perfume too. Finally, I think I'm ready to give up on it. I would gladly try Exit the King. The bitterness intrigues me. Druba says, I would love to try this quirky entry into their line. And Audrey Jane says, oh, sorry, talking to Gino, I love your channel, says Romola. Thank you very much for tuning in. And Lannon says, 2021, hoping for a spectacular bottle edition of number 5. Well, it'll be the 100th anniversary of number 5, so they will have to do something. And we did a 100 years of number 5 video here a few weeks ago. So if I remember, I'll link to that as well, or you can search for it, you'll find it. Thank you for this video, says Amy. Happy to make a live hello from California. Thanks for tuning in. Hope everyone has a happy new year. We are down to 2, so I mustn't stop the pace now because we have to be done in under an hour, and I have to say my goodbyes and thank yous to you. So the 9th one is, for me, the eccentric one, and it is this, still a brand that is absolutely well worth checking out. They still push out some interesting releases. This is, can you see there, it's Rouge from Comme des Garcons. I don't know who the perfumer is. This is the only one on the list where I can't get official notification or official word of who the perfumer is. If any of you out there know, if any of you are in the know and you're aware, please let me know. Also, am I wrong in noticing you changed the name of your channel? I haven't changed the name of my channel. No, it should still be Persolaise. It's my top number 1 release of this year, says Q George. Rouge, I mean, yeah, for me it would be up there. I think for me it would be either number 1 or number 2. Now we are going to try to make this pebble bottle stand up. It may not work and I may have to give up. Is that going to work? Okay, you stay there. Bought my first Comme des Garçons this year, says Frag Chaitan. It's Alberto Moria, says Everyday Products. But how do you know? Because I haven't been able to find anything out. So what's your source? What's your source? What's your source? Are you just speculating? Now, oh, kidding, says Everyday Products. Don't do that to me. Did you add perfumes to the end of it, says Druba. Oh, the channel name? Not consciously. Sorry, so I don't know. Anyway, this is taking territory that is not at all alien to Comme des Garçons. So it's incense and resins and sort of mineralic woody notes, but it gives them a twist with the inclusion of beetroot, hence the redness. I made some barszcz for Christmas Eve, so Polish beetroot soup, the other day. And again, I can vouch for the fact, as I did in my written review, that the beetroot note here is just so weirdly, eccentrically, extraordinarily accurate, and yet it works. Because it's beetroot is actually got quite a complex smell. It is earthy, woody, muddy, so you can imagine it linking quite well with things like patchouli, I suppose. But here they've linked it with incense. Somebody says crunchy green. Yes, absolutely. It's got that kind of quality to it as well. Rouge did sound interesting, says Nubionette. I always love a good incense that sticks to my skin. Jeanette says beetroot is earthy. I don't like that the bottle is not symmetrical, says Audrey. Well, you're going to struggle with Comme des Garçons then. Is it in any way similar to Aedis de Venustus, the first release? The rhubarby one? Well, I suppose that weird greenness is there, but the Aedis did make me think of rhubarb, whereas this makes me think of beetroot. I'm glad I finished drinking my coffee, says Angeline. Okay, after Copper, says Cole, this one scared me, but now I'm interested. But Copper was interesting too, wasn't it? The bottle. Oh, I'm not going to read that one out. Tina says, have to try this. Love borscht. That's the sort of Russian version of writing it, isn't it? I think the bottle is meant to be ergonomical, if you're right-handed at least, says Land of Nothingness. I've been watching the Americans a lot lately, says the Udo Pantograph. A lot of borscht, and that inspired me to look into this perfume. Great. Tuning in from Thailand, says Arm Rouge is by Natalie Gracia Sato, I think. Okay, but how do you know? How do you people know this? I need to find out. I wonder if anyone from Pooch will tell me. I love it too. So this gets the eccentric vote, and I have worn it a lot. I think it's really, really clever, and just the fact that it somehow manages to both work and to be weird and yet to make complete sense all at the same time. That's clever perfumery. And we're down to the last one. We are down to number 10, and this one I'm calling the living one, as in that it's, for me, from the moment I smelt it, I thought it was full of life, pulsing with blood, filled with sunlight, and the really sort of life-giving quality of sunlight. And just to make sure that I have enough time to... Arm says, I read it here. I believe everything I see on the... Mind you, if it's from the Coloniseur site, then chances are it's correct, but I would like to know where they found out from as well. Last one, number 10 on the list of best perfumes of 2020 is Fils de Joie from Serge Lutens, composed by Christopher Sheldrake. And this one, I did a whole video on this as well. It's been a good year for Lutens, because he also did the one whose name I'm not even actually going to try and pronounce now, but for their Eau de Politesse range. The new Aqua Allegoria, says Druba. What? Let's pop that here. Does that work if I pop it over there? This is another great jasmine from a brand that has already given us À la Nuit and Sarrasin, but this is a more overtly North African jasmine with sticky, spicy, honeyed notes. Bottle looks like it should hold honey, says KD Morrison. Sounds like a great choice. Do you think it's better than Sarrasin? Okay, in a word, no, but it is really, really wonderful. And it's just, I love the diffusiveness of it. I love the fact that it does fill the space around it with joy. Hello from Katowice, Poland, says Tomasz. I've just been to a smelly trip into the woods full of pine trees. As for my favourite scents of 2020, they're all of the fougere kind. It doesn't surprise me anyway. Fine. Q George says, we have 2 top releases in common, Rouge and Serge. Now, that is quite unusual in this day and age when there are so many perfumes out there. The jasmine is so good, says Q George. It is, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Love Fils de Joie, says A to Z in 1. I was hoping this was the other summer-spring entry, however, I was wrong, says Druba. I was sure Fils de Joie would be in the top, says Danali45. I bought it per your recommendation, says A to Z in 1, so thanks. That's fantastic. That's really, really nice to hear. A beautiful creation, says Olfactive Stories. I think the French magazine, the journal Ney, as in from Au Parfum, really rated this very highly as well. Sheldrake does amazing jasmine, says Udo Pantograph. So, we've done well for time. There's my top 10, which just leaves me with enough time to say, seriously, very, very heartfelt, very, very sincere thanks to every single one of you for all of your support this year, for making all of this fun and enjoyable, for making it possible. It has not been, I think, safe to say, it has not been the easiest year we've ever had, a lot of us. I hope you're all safe and well wherever you are. But honestly, to go back to my thanks to you, it may be a cliche, that doesn't make it any less true. I may have said it before, but there is no way, there is literally no way that I would be able to do this without your support, without your encouragement, without your knowledge. I always learn so much more from you, I'm sure, than you do from me. So give yourselves a pat on the back for being the best audience a Persolaise could ever hope for. Stay safe, look after yourselves. I will be back at some point in January, but until then, have a really, really good end of the year. Mark the end of the year in some kind of safe, acceptable way, but make sure you do mark it in some way. Put on your favorite perfume, and it won't be long before I see you again. Oh, hang on, I need to read some comments because we've still got a couple of minutes. Suddenly, all the comments are coming through. My very best to you and your family, says A2Z in one. Thank you, Persolaise. Wishing everyone a happy new year, says Frag Chi-Town. Thank you, thank you. Joanna says thank you. Christopher Honey says happy new year. Some guy, Renault Salmon, who's that? Is he saying thank you, Mr. Persolaise? Not sure who that is, but yeah, okay. Happy new year to you as well. Nubianet, many thanks from California. Thank you for everything and a good 2021 to all of you, says Tina. Thank you, Persolaise, says Angeline. Thank you, Mr. Alavi, for putting up with all my jokes and comments, says Druba, and everything in between. Many thanks for all the enthusiasm and wonderful content you put out for us. Thanks a million from all of us. You're more than welcome, but thank you. Happy New Year, says Vincent. Peace and love from Floating Man. Thank you, says Moaz. Till next time, everyone. Take care, all. Loads of thank yous. I promise I will read them all when the video is over. Thomas, and the last one at the moment goes to Milad. So let's say Happy New Year. Stay safe, folks. Be good. I will see you soon. 2020, nearly done. Bye now. Whoops. We nearly got there without a hitch.